Number 8, overanalyzing. Our conscious mind is a very, very powerful tool, and it's an essential tool. And it is not to be bashed. We're not going to blame our conscious mind for having too much control. However, if it has more control than it needs to have, what you end up doing is working from a point of willpower and brute force. You see your path, or you see your destination, I should say, and you figure the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. Well, in most physics analyses, that's true. Is that the best way to get from point A to point B? That question doesn't get asked very often. If you can relinquish your conscious mind back to a position occasionally of the observer, the true observer does not control, the observer just notices and is aware. That's a huge function of what your conscious mind, in my opinion, is really there to do, is to observe. And from that, say, oh, well, maybe I could do this. It's also the creative portion of your psyche. It's the one that says, well, maybe I would like to do this. Maybe I would like to do that. Maybe this would work if I employed these resources, these skills. So it's, as I said, very, very crucial part of your psyche, as long as it's not allowed to run the whole show. As soon as that happens, then any of these roadblocks, obviously you're stuck in one, but any of the other roadblocks you're gonna have to just smash through them, rather than just let them present themselves and gently go around. Again, brute force and willpower. Go ahead.
I like to say it's not the main dude.
There you go, not the main dude, that's right. Yeah. I noticed something really interesting. Oh, and I wanted to mention curiosity too. Curiosity is such an interesting concept because, and I'd like you to think about this after you leave here if you would. If you can stay curious, can you really be in a position of blaming or judgment or overanalyzation or any of the things that we've talked about? I'll let you answer. So curiosity, and curiosity, one of the things about it that I do like is it allows you to notice the next essential step. As I said, if you're trying to move from your soul's core, balanced and essential movement and path, if you're open to that and you're not overanalyzing everything that comes up, you can see what that next step is and or feel it, experience it is probably a better way to say that. And that's very important because that's really what's going to allow you that ease of operation. And maybe it's not the straightest path. Maybe it's the most windy path you could possibly imagine. But what wonderful experiences might be on each corner that you would have missed had you gone straight from point A to point B. Something that happened to me very recently, I've kind of had an interesting choice of career changes lately. As little as 2 weeks ago, I was working with an insurance agency. I was attempting to, I say I was sort of working there, I was attempting to sell group health benefits for small businesses. And it's something that a friend of mine's stepfather has owned for 35 years. It's a very reputable firm. I have no experience whatsoever in insurance, and I have no experience selling anything. As a matter of fact, well, I have a little, and I didn't like it. So I found myself, here's the benefit, I'll give you the benefit right off the top of the first benefit, was I had this great office. They actually put me in somebody else's office that was no longer there, and it had a south-facing view of these huge windows. So I get all the sun when it was out, and even when it wasn't, I'd get as much light as I could, and it overlooked a marsh from a fifth floor office building. So it's just perfect. I mean, I've never had an office like that. I had the best office in the world when I was an airline pilot because the view changed every minute. But this one was as nice as anything I've had on the ground, let's put it that way. So I would sit in there and, man, basking in the sun, and I'm making phone calls, I'm doing it, but it's all cold calling, which I haven't found anyone yet, even experienced salespeople, that really enjoy that. So I didn't feel too bad about not liking it a whole lot. And the neat thing was, that became a distraction for my conscious mind to be looking at who I'm calling, dialing the numbers on the phone, and going through my spiel on the phone, because it's, it's kind of a scripted sort of thing. And what I realized was happening was, while I was doing that consciously, unconsciously, all of these thoughts are popping into my head about the article I wrote in order to create this presentation. I wrote another article, I did a huge blog on a couple of things that I wanted to, and I'm just all of a sudden having all of this overflow of really cool stuff, and it felt good. I felt energy with it. It flowed with me. Whereas over here, I'm dialing yeah, I got a lot of flow here, I'd like to sell you some insurance. So I made the decision not to do that anymore because I was kind of wandering a little bit, wondering if this is really where I wanted to focus. And once I felt that flow, it really re-energized me to do exactly what I'm doing tonight. And the point there was the distraction. For me, that was a big learning experience for me, because if I can distract my conscious mind and just have it do something, it doesn't even have to be productive, and let the other things flow from my essence and show me the next step, then bada boom, bada bing, you know, here we are. I'm standing in front of you doing a presentation on something I had never considered before. So I think it's very powerful for me, and maybe it would be helpful for other people as well. Distraction can be a really neat technique. All right, moving on to number 9. I'm very grateful for that experience, because sometimes I forget to be grateful. And gratefulness is a very, very powerful tool and a powerful way of being. If you can stay in gratitude, this is kind of going out on a limb here, but there isn't really too much to go too far wrong. It's not to say that when you're grateful you don't experience things that are uncomfortable or difficult. That does happen, but you're not going to stick with them like we sometimes tend to do. And it's easy to judge these difficulties as being bad or negative. And yeah, we want these bad things to go away, but really gratitude is in everything. There isn't any situation I've come across yet where I can't sit back, and again, as the observer, it's easier to do this than actually being in it, but say, well, what's the silver lining? What is it that's positive about this experience, either for me or for that person that I'm observing? There's always something, whether it's a life lesson or something. Isn't that great? Well, I lose what I'm trying to say in the middle of being grateful. In this economy, for a good example of this would be the person that loses their job. She's been at this company and she's doing a great job, and it's not any reflection on her because she's doing a great job, but there just isn't enough money to pay all the people, so she gets out and put out on the street. That's a tough situation, and it's life-altering to go through something like that. If you can understand and acknowledge those feelings, and also be grateful for the fact that, hey, maybe now I've got a little extra time to go find out what it is that I want to do. Maybe she wasn't super happy in that job. There's something I've been thinking about. Maybe I could pursue a different career, anything like that. It may seem small at the time, but if it allows you to take that next essential step along the path that you choose to go along, rather than feeling pushed like, well, it's a good job, I should stick with it because it's got money and, you know, whatever. That's kind of a push. That's kind of like, well, I'm letting external things control me. Maybe that's the instance that you need to find that next essential step and go the direction that you want to go instead of how you think you should go or how you are pushed to go. Theologian and author Brother David Steindl-Rast wrote, "Gratefulness is the key to a happy life that we hold in our hands. Because if we're not grateful, then no matter how much we have, we will not be happy. Because we will always want to have something else or something more." Another way to say that, Frank A. Clark, author and philosopher, said, "If a fellow isn't thankful for what he's got, he isn't likely to be thankful for what he's gonna get." Plain and simple. Will there ever be enough? Gratitude closes the door on lack, and it opens the door on possibility. Because if you're grateful for what you have, then anything else that comes is a bonus. And it just allows you the opportunity to say, well, hey, this is all right. You know, here's what I got. Now, what else is out there? And it just, you kind of, and again, the shoulders drop, the stress melts away a bit, and you're more open to the possibilities and the options that are out there for you. One more point on gratefulness: it releases the attachments that we make to things, ways of life, attitudes, all kinds of different things. If you can release some of those attachments, it allows more contentment to flow in your life. And contentment is a big word, because not very many of us, I don't think, are really content with where we are. And that has a lot to do with gratitude.